Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. Hey, it was a disappointing day yesterday. Not going to sugarcoat it. Not going to lie about it. More than likely, it was the worst day in the system of the year. I can't remember a worse one. Hey, Oklahoma City Dodgers, they got walloped. The Tulsa Drillers, they got walloped. And then you had the very, very disappointing game last night where you took the 2-run lead into the ninth inning and gave that away and lost on a walk-off. And then Modesto, they beat the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. So, hey, thank goodness for the Great Lakes Loons. They won a 2-1 ball game last night. They won a close game, and thanks to them. Otherwise, hey, we've talked about all these organizational sweeps, and the organization has been fantastic this year. But yesterday was almost an organizational sweep if it wasn't for a 2-1 victory for High A Great Lakes, or it would have been a sweep in the wrong direction. So again, easily the worst day of the year for me in terms of the baseball on the field. But hey, talk about all the time. One of the great things about baseball is you get to wake up and you get to do it all again the next day. Okay, so hey, before we dive into too much of our Dodgers talk today, we're not going to have a big, long on the farm session today because, hey, Oklahoma City, they got just pounded last night. So did Tulsa. To be honest with you, there weren't really a whole lot of highlights. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about Nick Robertson, and then we're going to talk about some of the pitchers in Double-A that I think could make an impact by the end of this season that are ready for AAA. I know Matt Kramer, thank you so much for your comments. You mentioned that in the comments section, so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So, hey, that's going to be our on the farm session. We will talk a little bit about Great Lakes and some performances that from people that have come back. But hey, before we dive into all that, just a reminder, we do have a GoFundMe account. Just scroll down to the description, click the link, and it'll take you right to the GoFundMe for Dodgers Daily. And also, hey, don't forget to leave a comment for this video, like this video, tell all your friends, and share it. Share it with as many people as you can. That way it gets seen by as many people. And Dodgers Daily can continue growing, and we can continue doing what we love to do, which is providing videos like this in the future. Okay, so a lot to chew on. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. So the Dodgers took a 2-run lead into the bottom of the ninth inning, and some controversial decisions. We'll get into those and my thoughts on those. But hey, they dropped now to 35-26, and now that they are in second place behind the Diamondbacks. I've said a couple of times, I don't think the Dodgers can rely on the Diamondbacks to just collapse. I think the D-backs are built for success and for the long haul. And I've also said, hey, I've seen their AAA team, and they are the only AAA team that has been able to just basically beat around and do what they wanted to with the Oklahoma City pitching. One of the reasons why Oklahoma City has been so good this year specifically has been the bullpen, and Nick Robertson has been part of that. He got brought up yesterday, so no doubt about it. Okay, Nick Robertson getting called up to the major leagues. If you follow Dodgers Daily much, you have seen a lot of video on him. It seems like almost every show for quite a while I was doing something on Nick. Okay, Nick, what an awesome deal this is. The young man out of James Madison. I've talked about him several different times. Okay, he has the four seam that usually sits 94 to 96. I've talked to him 3 different times, and all 3 times he said, yeah, I sit 94, 96. Well, how about this? His fastball, his four seam actually has sat at the top end of that at 96, and he's touching 97. The slider has been good. He's throwing strikes, and he has just been fantastic with Triple Oklahoma City. This promotion was long overdue. And let me say this, okay? You saw calebferguson face the 3 righties yesterday. Okay, the trade deadline coming up, I've mentioned I am very confident that the front office will be very aggressive at the trade deadline because you have so much prospect capital. Okay, all of these issues as far as, hey, can calebferguson actually get right-handers out? Hey, who on the farm can help? You saw Johnny DeLuca get brought up, Nick Robertson. You've seen all these rookies, get brought up. Okay, the roles need to be defined here, after Memorial Day here real fast. And the reason is it needs to become very clear and very well defined what the exact needs are on this team. So the front office, when they go be aggressive at the trade deadline, they know exactly what they need. They know exactly what they're looking for. They know the exact homework to do. So, hey, you need to see what you have with Nick Robertson right now to see, hey, is he a player for the Los Angeles Dodgers bullpen? Is he a guy that there's a guy we can rely on down the stretch, and so we don't have to go get another bullpen arm? And what do we have with Johnny DeLuca? Do we still need to go get another right-handed hitting outfielder, or can he handle that position and that spot for us? Okay, so can Caleb Ferguson, like I said, get right-handers out? So these are all the questions that need to be answered before the trade deadline, so the front office can really, really hone in on the exact needs of this club. But easily the best part of yesterday was Nick Robertson getting brought up. Okay, so going back to James Madison and going back to high school, I've said this a couple of times, but his high school coach actually played professional baseball, did not pitch him very much in high school. His arm was still, very, very, as far as usage, not used as much as a lot of, especially these guys in high school. They get pitched a lot. Of course, they've made rules now in high school that, a pitcher can't go over 120 innings. And based on the amount of pitches they threw in one day, they have to sit. I know in Oklahoma, if it's 35 and under, you can throw the next day. But if it's 35 and fit to 50, you got to wait one day. If it's over 50, you got to wait 2 days. Over 75, 3. And then anything 120 over, you have to wait out 5 days. So they have made rules to help with arms. But, hey, Nick Robertson's high school coach did a wonderful job of protecting him. Then he went to James Madison and only threw like 53 innings. I think that's if that's not exactly correct, that's really close. So he came to the Dodgers really fresh in terms of his arm and the amount of usage that it's had on it. This is why you're seeing the uptick in velo for him. I've said it for a couple of years now, is because, hey, he's just now starting to get, the usage of his arm that's allowing him to hit the top end of what it's capable of. So, yes, he's, in his mid-20s, but, hey, knock a couple of years off of that because he has way less usage on his arm than a lot of these guys do. Okay, so he has the fastball, slider, and changeup mix. The slider has been fantastic. Like I said, the four-seam has been sitting 96 and touching 97, and the changeup, feel-heavy pitch, kind of like Mark Washington. Hopefully Mark Washington's next. He's the next one in line, in my opinion, that deserves a promotion from within as far as a bullpen arm, and hopefully it is sooner rather than later. I love Mark Washington. Had a chance to talk to him. I communicate with him regularly, and he is very good. 6'7" out of Lehigh, originally Episcopal Academy. But okay, so they call Nick Big Country, and he's very, he's kind of got that real quiet personality to him. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I've been watching Nick for a long time. He was one of my very first interviews I did a couple of years ago, and hey, I'm nervous about it. And I'm not nervous because I don't have confidence in him. I'm nervous just because he's worked so hard and it's been such a long road. He made a bunch of adjustments over the offseason last year, and he has earned this opportunity so much. I just want him to do well so bad that, it makes me a little bit nervous about it. So hopefully he's not as nervous about it as I am. Same with Johnny DeLuca. Johnny DeLuca being a SoCal boy, and he went to Oregon and is a switch hitter there, only right-handed now, gotten a lot bigger. So, hey, you just want these guys, you see them and you know that, hey, this is their goal in life. And one of the questions I asked Travis, the AAA manager, what's it like getting to tell these guys that hey, they get to reach their goals in life, and that the one thing they've been working for their whole life, I should say. And he said, man, it's like the coolest thing ever. It's what makes this job worth it. So, hey, super excited for those two. Okay, so like I always say, hey, when you have these situations that are very negative and they don't go the way that you want, I'll always like to start with a positive, something upbeat. Okay, so now let's get to the negative. Okay, last night, unacceptable. Okay, and I'm going to just fast forward straight to Dave Roberts' post-game comments. And to be honest with you, I was very proud of Dave in his tone. I was proud of Dave and how stern he was. I was proud of Dave in the words that came out of his mouth, in the sense that, hey, he was setting a Dodgers standard. Hey, here's the standard we have. If you get the ball, okay, then you need to do your job. If not, you're not going to be running back out there if you don't, because, hey, the Dodgers are all about winning. One of the big criticisms I have of Dave Roberts is that I think sometimes he's a little bit too nice and a little bit too cheery, and, hey, doesn't set the bottom line quite as rigid as I would like. And so, hey, I thought he set a pretty good bottom line last night. I thought he set a tone of, hey, yeah, I'm a player's manager and I'm a nice guy, but hey, I've had enough of this. That this is it. Hey, I've got to put the guys in that can get outs, and this is unacceptable. Okay, so I really loved the tone that Dave Roberts set in his post game last night, and I know I was watching Jerry Hairston and the post game, and I can the comments that they made was, hey, we've been watching Dave Roberts for a long time. Not quite sure I've ever seen him this fired up. I'm in the same boat. Hey, when he was firing off, I was like, wow, okay, Dave, go get it, man. Go get it and have at it, man, because, hey, sometimes this is what a team needs. Not necessarily, just a thrashing, but just a wake-up call like, guys, hey, this is a business. This is big business. We are the freaking Dodgers, man. I mean, we can't go out and get walked off by the Reds. We can't give up leads to the Nats. We can't do this. We can't finish second place behind Arizona. This is not who the Dodgers are. This is not who we are. And by the way, what he's really saying is there's too much talent on this team. Calebferguson is too talented to go out and not be able to get through more than one out there. Even if it is right-handers, he's still too talented. The Dodgers are too talented to go and get walked off by the Reds. Okay, having said that, okay, I love the tone that he set with his comments. I love the bottom line. I love the business. He kind of brought out the business aspect of Dave Roberts. I love all of that. Having said that, bring in Shelbymiller, okay? Bring it. Shelbymiller has average against right-handers of 109, man. I mean, you're a guy who plays the odds. You're a guy who plays analytics. Weird time to just get a hunch. Just weird time to just say, hey, let's see if Calebferguson can get right-handers out right here. And I understand Fergie has been good this year. I understand that, okay? And I understand that he's earned some trust, which is huge with managers, and that's kind of one of the things Dave was talking about last night is, hey, I put in the guys that I trust, and if you go out there and you don't do your job, especially in the late innings and especially in the ninth inning, okay, it makes it very difficult for me to trust you, okay? And so I understand that Fergie had earned some trust from Dave, but hey, man, weird time to not play the analytics. Bring in Shelbymiller and, hey, let him face the right-handers, right? And or leave Evan Phillips in. Now, I did like the explanation he gave about Evan Phillips. First of all, you're on a 6-game road swing, a very big one. You need to win. You need to win these games on the road, and you need to have a good road. You just finished a road series where you went 4-6. Now you're 4-7 in your last 11 road games. Okay, and you're 15-16 overall. So I understand that he's trying to set the club up to have a good road swing. And hey, his explanation was great, to be honest with you. Okay, Evan threw, you had the off day, but before the off day, he threw that day. So then if you throw 2 innings today, then you don't have him tomorrow, maybe the day after that. Okay, so what he did was he threw Evan Phillips 1 inning, handed over a 2-run lead going into the ninth, man. Part of that is let's add some insurance, and let's make this to where the Reds don't feel like, just get one guy on and you can tie the game. Okay, so Phillips did his job. I didn't have a problem with him taking Evan Phillips out. I've talked about, hey, does Evan Phillips need to be a closer? No, he needs to come in and get the biggest 3 outs, and he came in and shut down 1, 2, 3. He threw 11 pitches, so if you want to make the argument that Phillips should have went back out, hey, I don't have a problem with that, but what's your pitch limit going to be for Evan? Let's say he goes back out and you're 15 pitches into next inning and you say you have 1 out or 2 outs, and now you're 26 pitches into it, or you get over 30. Okay, do you want to go on a pitch count limit, or do you want to go on an innings limit? So I can at least understand the rationale and the explanation that Dave gave of why he took Phillips out. You had the 2-run lead. You had still another at bat to add on to that 2-run lead before you ever got to Calebferguson. My problem with the decision-making there is why not go to Shelbymiller earlier? Shelbymiller has been very good this year, and I know, hey, Dave doesn't have the track record with Shelby that he's had with some of these guys that have been within the Dodgers organization, a little bit more. Shelbymiller, this is his first year here, but I would say that Shelbymiller has earned that. Of course, he did give up the walk-off, and so, hey, who's to say he wouldn't have come in and done the same thing? But at least I could have sat here and said, hey, you put out a guy that's usually good against right-handers. You threw all your bullets. You just didn't perform, and you lost the game. So last night, from that perspective, I'm going to say it again, I love the way that Dave Roberts addressed the issues. I love the business tone that he had in his voice. I love the bottom line tone that he had. I love the matter-of-factness that he had. I love the fact that he challenged his players. I love all that. I think that's exactly the tone that this club needs right now. I don't like the decision-making, though. Point blank. I think he should have brought in shelbymiller and or left in Evan Phillips. Like I said, I can understand the Evan Phillips thing more than I can understand not bringing in shelbymiller. So, hey, that right there, that's decision-making. Part of why you're feeling like you're feeling right now is because you didn't, in my opinion, you didn't map the game out exactly properly. Having said that, another thing that he's saying too is, guys, if I have to be perfect as a manager, then I'm not always going to be perfect. And then if I'm not perfect, we lose. We're better than that. There's margin for error. So I think that's part of the message there too. Okay. And then also, here's another deal. Hey, Gonsolin, he didn't give up a whole lot of runs. But I've said it many different times, when your starter only goes 5 innings and you've got to cover with 4 different guys, and then last night a 5th guy, there's bound to, the more relief pitchers that you bring into a game, the likelihood goes up that one of those guys is not going to be on their game that night and is going to struggle. And it just takes, we saw, just one guy to really not be on their game at all to lose. Okay, especially, in 2-run games and certainly 1-run games. So I'm not a huge fan. It's not necessarily, hey, who should be the closer. It's that we need a starter to go long enough to close the gap between when they leave and the end of the game, so you're not bringing in as many relievers, so you're reducing your odds of one guy not having, their best stuff that night. Okay, and we've talked about the bullpen has been just one of these mystical things where it's just very difficult to figure out, and I don't have any answers to it. Hey, at the trade deadline, I know one of the questions in the comments was, hey, can you look at some of the trade deadline pieces? I'm not going to lie, I have not looked into that yet. I will, though, and I will, in one of these shows, I will address that very, very, very closely. Okay, so in-house, I know Matt asked about, the double-A guys, but let's start with in-house. Okay, you DFA'd Taylerscott, or you didn't DFA him, you sent him back down to AAA, and to take his place was Nick Robertson. Okay, so Taylerscott has been fantastic. There's another right-hander that you could have used. Of course, Dave is big on, hey, do I have visual proof from the past? Is he one of my guys? So I'm not sure he would have brought in Taylerscott in that situation anyways. Okay, but I think Taylerscott needs to be on the Major League roster right now. Him and Nick Robertson both. Okay, figure out how to get that done. I'm of that opinion. Okay, so as far as guys in AAA right now, you've already seen Wander Suero. So I'm in favor of the guys that are in AAA right now. I would say, hey, maybe Mark Washington's up for promotion, so you can take a look at him before the trade deadline. Taylerscott, Nick Robertson. Those are your 3 guys from AAA Oklahoma City that I think you need to give a look at. You saw Taylerscott. He proved that he can get major league outs. We'll see what Nick Robertson can do. Like I said, I'm nervous as can be for the young man because he has worked so hard for this. And then Mark Washington. Okay, some of the pitchers in AA Tulsa. All right, I think the most major league ready guy right now would probably be Landonknack. Now, he has had a couple of performances. Both were in Wichita, which is kind of like a Bermuda Triangle of a place to play. His last 2 performances have gone sideways on him, but he had been really, really good. He's had like 3 bad starts this year, and it's usually he doesn't start real well. It's usually like the first inning. So I think he would, I don't know about the relief thing because usually it's right when he first comes in where he struggles. But I think he's the most major league ready guy because, hey, he's been hitting 93 lately, but he's hit 96 in the past, and he has 4 pitches. We saw with Bobby Miller, you've got to have a variety to get major league hitters out, and being a guy that can land 4 different pitches, I think he's probably the most major league ready. Plus, he's been in the system for quite a while, so I don't think he would be overwhelmed by the moment. I think the guy that is the second closest, as far as being promoted to AAA, would be Emmetsheehan. Emmetsheehan has had just a million different strikeouts. He's hit 99 with his fastball, and the slider curveball change type deal. So he's got that riding fastball, kind of that 3/4 slot that gets the ride and the run to the fastball. So I think Landonknack and emmetsheehan are the two closest. Then you have guys like River Ryan that are very, very good, very explosive. They have the typical Dodgers fastball slider changeup mix with a spinning curveball that just kind of gets thrown, and just kind of as a flipper, as a get me over, just to give a hitter a different look. Nickfrasso, who struggled last night, but the problem with Nickfrasso is the fact that he's been so injury prone. I don't think he's close to being a major league contributor. Hey, maybe a one-inning reliever, but I would say that the first two guys that are in line for promotions would be Knack and Sheehan, and then you have guys like nicknastrini, River Ryan, Nickfrasso. Those guys, hey, they're very, very good, extremely, extremely talented, and they will be in AAA. We'll see if it's by the end of this year, but I'm looking at Landonknack and emmetsheehan as possible, guys that can help Los Angeles this year by the end of this year. I think those guys they're that advanced, especially, hey, like I said, Knack's very advanced with the pitch, the strike throwing with 4 different pitches. Then emmetsheehan is just so explosive, and he's in the strike zone, and he gets swing and miss. Kind of like Bobby Miller we saw the other day. There's margin for error because, hey, that 99-mile-an-hour two-seam has so much run to it back to his arm side. emmetsheehan gets that same kind of run, but with his 4-seam and hitting 99 with it. So I think, emmetsheehan has similar stuff to Bobby Miller in that way, in that he has very high velo and it has run to it. So that's going to give him margin for error. So the two guys I would hone in the most right now from AA Tulsa would be Knack and Sheehan. And then right closely behind them would be like a River Ryan. And I did speak with River Ryan. He said one of his goals was to make the major leagues. This dude thinks big time. His brother has been in professional baseball. Dad, uncle, grandpa, you name it. They've all been in professional baseball. He thinks like a professional baseball player. Okay, and he has a big-time mentality. So I think he's going to get moved up to AAA this year. It'll be interesting to see if he knocks on the door of major league, of a major league promotion as well. Okay, nicknastrini, Nickfrasso. I think Frasso needs to build a pitch count. Nastrini has been very good this year, and so he's another guy that's been in AA since last year. He's due up for promotion. I would be shocked if he doesn't end up in AAA. Then your relievers, there's so many of them. I don't have them written down right here, so I hope I don't, I hope I don't miss a couple. But the first guy that I would take to AAA on the entire list would be Johnrooney. He's been in AA. This is actually parts of 3 years now, and of course some of that is due to injury. He was a starter last year. They moved him to the pen. Not only did they move him to the pen, instead of the riding fastball and the tumbling changeup, which is a north-south pitch mix, they made him east-west. Now he has the cutter that turns right for him because he's left-handed, and he has the two-seam that turns left for him. So they've made him east and west. They've moved him to the bullpen, and he has been fantastic. And then Jakepilarski, obviously, he hits over 100 miles an hour. But the thing about him, as of late, he's been landing that slider. And when you have to gear up for, he's not always over 100. He's a lot of times sat about 96, and he's hit up to 99. But when you have a fastball that can hit over 100, and hitters have to gear up for that, when you can also land the slider, and then he was throwing his slider and changeup in his last performance, both for strikes as well as his 4-seam fastball. Hey, that's a guy that is absolutely legitimate. So I think Jakepilarski, he will end up in AAA. He will move 3 levels, kind of like Gavin Stone did last year, and hey, maybe knock on the door of the major leagues. We saw him in spring training. Very explosive, very exciting to watch. So, hey, Jakepilarski is another guy. Came out of Division III, then he went to, the Citadel, and then he went indie ball, and then the Dodgers found him, So one of those guys that didn't necessarily come out of nowhere because the COVID thing kind of kept him, a lot of guys like him, under the radar a touch. But, hey, big fastball, 3-pitch mix. So obviously Jakepilarski would be in that contention as well, and he's a guy that has major league ready stuff right now. So it would just be a matter of hey, do the Dodgers Do they trust him? They don't know a whole lot about him as far as his background. He didn't have a great year. His last year at the Citadel, he came out of indie ball. So, I wouldn't think the Dodgers would trust him this year at the major league level. I'm not saying I wouldn't. And when I say trust, I just mean they don't have the track record to rely on that, hey, this is what this guy's going to give us. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with jakepilarski, but certainly an explosive, right arm and a 3-pitch mix for him. Kylehurt's another guy that's been hitting 99 this year. Okay, he's been in Tulsa since about this time last year. He got brought up to Tulsa, I think maybe in July, something like that. Okay, so he has been, his last start didn't go exactly the way he wanted to, but he has been very, very, very good too. And another power arm, that has been throwing a lot of strikes this year. His problem in the past has been, hey, are you landing your pitches in the strike zone? He has been doing that this year. So Kylehurt's another guy that I will be shocked if he doesn't end up in AAA this year. So in AAA, you have Matt Andriese, who's been the pitcher of, I believe, the pitcher of the month twice now in the PCL. He's been very, very good. I mentioned in a tweet yesterday that he is very underrated, okay, and that absolutely is the case. And you have guys like Robbie Erlin. So, hey, maybe you've always saw Dylan Covey come up and pitch one game, get DFA'd. I think if Matt Andriese came up, that would probably be the situation for him. I thought he was going to be the guy they chose last time. So I think the next promotion would probably be Andriese, just because he's pitched very well and he has, over 500 innings in the major leagues, and his ERA is somewhere in the mid-4s. Okay, but I said that last time and was totally wrong. Okay, so Johnrooney would be the first relief guy that I would move up, and then you have guys like Ryan Sublette, who are very good, Antonioknowles, benharris, and guys like that are very, very. Jordanleasure is extremely, extremely good. I think he'll end up in AAA this year as well. So, hey, Tulsa has the best pitching staff in all the minor leagues. They have the best ERA of any pitching staff in the minor leagues, the best ERA of any starting pitching staff in the minor leagues. And then they like that piggyback, where you have one guy go 4 or 5 innings and the second guy go 4 or 5 innings as well. So I think the depth pool is at Tulsa. The next round of guys, as far as if you're going to pull up from within, as far as starting pitchers go, is in Tulsa. So, hey, do you want to take one of those very talented starting pitchers in Tulsa? Maybe to Johnrooney, too, who's in relief now, who used to be a starter. Then you also have Alecgamboa, who's having a good year, too. That's in AA. He will end up in AAA as well this year. So, hey, that roster for Tulsa, most of those guys are going to end up in AAA. And so it'll be interesting to see which guys get targeted first. But those are my thoughts as far as who they might be and where the Dodgers might go there. So, hey, do you like those options as far as in-house, or do you want to see the Dodgers get very aggressive and go get a number one starter, a guy that can get you 6-7 innings like Doc mentioned last night and beat the other team's number one guy in a 2-1 game? Or, hey, do you like the in-house thing? Do you want to just keep promoting from within in-house and see what you got there and try to win a World Series from that perspective? Okay, so I think there's going to be a little bit of a combination of both. I think you are going to see, like we saw with Nick Robertson, with Johnny DeLuca, guys like that. I think there's going to be some promotions from within. But again, I do think the Dodgers are going to be aggressive at the trade deadline. Okay, last night, the two best parts were not going to take a trip down on the farm, because really the action, even in the Great Lakes game, there wasn't a whole lot of action to it. Yainer Fernandez was the only hitter that had 2 hits, a multi-hit game for Great Lakes. The two best parts of last night, Michael Busch was back in the lineup for AAA Oklahoma City. He had not been in the lineup since May 30th. And then Hyun-Il Choi was very good, and his third outing back, he was the 2021 minor league player, the pitcher of the year, and then he was out all last year due to injury. He was out until, just a couple of weeks ago due to injury this year. Finally got back, and this was his third start last night for High A Great Lakes, and he was fantastic. He did a great job last night. So certainly the highlights of the day at the major league level, Nick Robertson gets promoted the day before Johnny DeLuca. At the minor league level, the best part of last night was Michael Busch returning, and then also Cole Calhoun. He got a hit in his first action with AAA Oklahoma City. He was just acquired. Got a chance to see him quite a bit in Oklahoma City, both when he was with the Rangers and then with the Angels. He would come to Oklahoma City with their AAA affiliates. So especially Salt Lake, I saw him quite a bit. I believe it was in 2019 when I was on the grounds crew. Very impressive athlete, a lot of swing and miss. A lot of swing and miss, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. But again, down the farm, the best part of yesterday was Michael Busch making his return back. He had 2 doubles for AAA Oklahoma City, and then Choi having the good third outing of the season. So, hey, that's our show for you today. Hopefully, the Dodgers, like I said, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You still have 5 games left on this road trip. Only 1 game back of Arizona. Hey, let's just grit our teeth. Let's get gritty. Let's go to work and let's just, let's win 4 or 5 in a row in this road series. Again, the schedule coming up, it's very favorable. If you look at the remaining schedule of the year, the Dodgers schedule is about twice as favorable as the D-backs. And so, this isn't a time to panic or to, for knee-jerk type decisions. I've talked about the decisions that I thought were wrong last night that need to be corrected for the future. But hey, again, this as far as odds, if you're playing odds in Vegas, the odds are the Dodgers are going to win the NL West and probably by 3 or 4 games, just based on the remaining schedule. But like I said, the D-backs, they're formidable. Okay, they're a good team. We saw it, head to head against them with the Dodgers. As a matter of fact, the Dodgers, this 3-game losing streak they're on right here is the first 3-game losing streak they've had since early April when they were handed that losing streak by the D-backs. So that just goes to show you how talented the D-backs are, and I don't think they're going to fall apart. But having said that, the schedule favors the Dodgers by almost twice as far as the remaining schedules for the season, and so the Dodgers still heavily favored to win the NL West, something that we've all become accustomed to. So, hey, I hope you enjoyed today's show. I also hope you tune in tomorrow. And, hey, before we get out of here, just a reminder that we do have a GoFundMe account. Scroll down to the description, click the link, and it'll take you right to the Dodgers Daily GoFundMe. Thank you so much to everybody who has helped to this point. And also, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, tell me what you think. I love the War Room. I love the comments on Dodgers Daily. Share this video, tell all your friends, and then become a subscriber. After you subscribe, turn on your notifications. Okay, that way every time Dodgers Daily releases a new video, you'll be notified. You'll never miss a thing. Thank you for tuning in, and go Dodgers.